All Tom Hanks wanted was a quiet vacation at home.
This is what I need, Carol. I need this.
Welcome to Mayfield Place. A typical street in the Burbs.
Morning, Walter!
Where nothing much ever happened.
Walter's dog just took a dump on Rumsfeld's lawn again.
Until the Klopeks moved in.
Klopex?
Klopex. Klopek. No one goes in, no one comes out.
Neighbors from hell.
It was a nice place to live.
He said he thinks the Klopeks are evil incarnate.
Well, you're much too smart to fall for that, aren't you, honey?
But now,
Carol!
you wouldn't want to visit there.
Ray, this is Walter.
The Burbs.
It's a strange day in the Burbs, so let's see what we can figure out. All right, The Burbs. Now, I saw this movie pretty young. I remember I was in elementary school and I saw Tom Hanks's dream sequence scene. I saw that scene and I'm just kind of thinking to myself, this is a little horrific, but at the same time, I'm just like more like, okay, like, all right. So The Burbs, you know, if you tell me that, you know, the director of like The Howling and Gremlins is going to direct a movie that is Tom Hanks and it's a dark comedy where an entire suburb, they're nervous because one of their neighbors could be involved in a satanic cult. You have me right there. I'm laughing right there. And ever since I saw this as a kid, I loved it ever since. So this is one of my favorite, I would say it's one of my favorite films ever made. I would also say it's one of my favorite dark comedy films. And I love dark comedies. And, you know, I love dark comedies like American Psycho, Evil Dead. You know, I find those ones my cup of tea. Because it's also fun to watch them with other people. They're shocked at, like, the darkness. I'm laughing at it because it is dark. So, you know, I find that funny. So, The Burbs. Like I said, it's a bunch of neighbors coming together because they believe that one of their neighbors is involved with the satanic cult. And every time that I watch this movie, it's like watching a bunch of adults act like children. Because when you were a kid, there was probably that house on the block that, you know, you always thought like somebody died in or something like that. And so you would always try to put on your like detective hat or like get your crew together and playing Scooby-Doo and just go and try to figure out what happened. This is very much like that. Like, you know, when you have a bunch of adults saying like, all right, we think we got him. We think we fleshed him out. Okay, what'd you do? Oh, we slipped a note under the door and we rang the doorbell and then we ran away. So I'm like, so you basically ding-dong ditched someone. That is very much what kids do. So I love how they're full-grown adults. They should really know better, but yet they take the childish way out and they do stupid stuff like that. It's funny. It's funny to me, and because they should really know better. The cast is really spot on. I mean, you know, geez, from like Tom Hanks to Carrie Fisher to Corey Feldman, who during this time he was like on the rise. Like he did Goonies, he did Lost Boys, and then he did this, and so it's like he was really on the rise. Like people were booking him left and right because they're like, oh, we need a kid actor for our film. He's the best bet. And to personally, my favorite character of them all, it's Bruce Dern, because his character, I love it because it's like they wrote down a whole bunch of like quotes and one-liners, and they just said, hey, let's hear him say it. And he says it and just does a great job at it. And it's funny every time. I mean, when you have a scene where, he's on top of his roof and he has like a sniper's crow nest, but he's sitting up there with coffee and graham crackers. It's like, dude, like, really? I can't take you seriously. Like, you had me at that, but then when you pulled out the coffee and graham crackers, I'm just like, yeah, this is not serious. So this definitely feels like a movie where they were trying to make each other laugh. And it's really funny, and I like to think like a lot of parts of the movie or a lot of like lines during the movie were improvised. And I do know one for certain, and it's uttered by Bruce Dern. And honestly, I think it's my favorite line of not just his character, but in the entire movie. And I come to find out that it was improvised. So it's so funny. I mean, it has its spooky moments, but they're very comedic the way they do it. And, when you have, when you have a part like, they find, I won't explain everything, but they find a certain bone, and they immediately start thinking like the worst. And it's just like, but you don't really know what that is. You don't really know where, like, there's no context to it. So you just immediately assume like, oh, this is the worst. And when they're screaming, the camera just goes in and out, like it zooms in and out, like it's like we're being goofy on purpose. They have Jerry Goldsmith doing the score over it, and even Goldsmith. One of the things I think is a little underrated here in this film is Goldsmith's score. He's able to capture the horror in some elements, but also like he understands like this is goofy, so let's just add just like a whole bunch of sound effects just to make it weird, like boing, and let's just have fun with it. So it really felt like they were making the film just to make themselves laugh. And then they said, hey, let's just put this film into theaters. And they did. And it was hilarious. Unlike something like Adam Sandler, where, he just pays, his movies are basically tax write-offs for vacations with him and his buddies, and they're just saying, hey, bring a camcorder, let's just make each other laugh, and then we'll just stitch a movie past that, throw it in theaters, and just make billions of dollars off of suckers. The Burbs doesn't do that. If you're an Adam Sandler fan, that's you. I already said it. So, anyway, The Burbs. You could say the one bad thing about the film is one of the characters, and if you've seen the film, you know exactly what I'm talking about. He can be very annoying and also very manipulative. But that's also his character, is that he's just like, that's the way he is. And usually I would have an issue with that, but the whole movie is basically saying, yeah, we know he's an idiot. He's annoying. We get it. We know. We're playing along with it. It knows it's not serious. This is definitely not we're taking ourselves seriously. So, from every time I see the movie, it is hilarious. It's definitely a comfort movie for me. So if I feel down, I can just watch it, and I pretty much know almost every single line of dialogue, because I could just recite this movie like the back of my hand, and it's always funny. Every time I watch it, it's always funny. So I mean, I really don't have a flaw. Personally, to me, this is an amazing, because it's not just one of my favorite dark comedy films, it's one of my favorite films. And it's funny every time I watch it, and just so incredibly goofy. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I have been in conversation with somebody and I say a line from this movie and it's just so funny and it just works seamlessly. I can't talk. You understand. So it's just, it's great. I love this film. I always have. I will continue to love it. Yes, it is an amazing, I love it. It's one of the best horror comedies out there. It's one of the best dark comedies. And I will cherish this movie for the rest of my life.
Ray, do you want him to take your family, kidnap them, tear their livers out, and make some kind of satanic pate? We found Walter!
We got a real problem.
I hit the gas line, I'd run!
God, I love this street.
Tom Hanks.
I think we are overreacting.
No. The Burbs. It's one hell of a neighborhood.
Hey, honey, I think we should move.